Hello again. So welcome to the first parallel session in the Europe-Africa time slot at LAB. My name is Blaženka Divjak. I'm professor at the University of Zagreb and vice president of Solar. And I'm going to chair this session. This session, the title is Learning Analytics and Learning Design. And there are three demos in this presentation, and all of us, all three demos, let us keep the timing that we can see on the screen. So approximately 20 minutes for presentation, and then a short question and answer from the audience. So let us start with the first one. It is a human-centered design and implementation of learning analytics indicators using OpenLAP. And as far as I can see, Shoeb is here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we can start with the first presentation. So Shoeb, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see my screen, right? All right, so hi there, everyone. My name is Joarder, and I'm from Germany. I'm a PhD student at the University of Duisburg-Essen in the city of Duisburg, and today I'm going to present to you the human-centered design and implementation of learning analytics indicators using OpenLAP. So I will kick off the presentation by discussing briefly the concept of human-centered learning analytics, and then I will move on to the tool Open Learning Analytics platform, OpenLAP, with two demos. And then I will end the discussion with the key takeaways of the presentation. So the human-centered learning analytics is an approach that involves the human factors of learning analytics. It brings the human-centered human-computer interaction to learning analytics and involve various stakeholders such as teachers, students, designers, institutions for the whole learning analytics process. There are plenty of research involving the participatory design of learning analytics tools and platforms. However, there is only few studies involving the systematic design of learning analytics indicators that involves the users. So I will present to you some typical scenarios of how learning analytics is used in practice. So here is, for example, a teacher who teaches a course in a learning management system or MOOC platform, and students interact with the platform to generate activity data. And the teachers can be curious to know the performance of her course. So therefore, she is in search for an indicator that can answer her question. She can search for an indicator from the platform's pool of indicator and found one indicator, and then she can add it to her dashboard. In another scenario, the teacher can have some more questions, and she's again in search for more indicators from the platform's pool of indicators. However, she is not able to find one that meets her needs. So what she can do to do that, to overcome this situation. So since it did not meet her needs, she can create maybe designs of the indicator that she wants. She can communicate with a researcher or a designer to build the indicators for her. And then she can use these indicators to embed to her course or any kind of like personal dashboard. If a researcher or a designer is not available, maybe the teacher can design the indicators and implement by herself. And then she could embed these indicators to her course or personal dashboard. But the challenge is that how can we design this and implement these indicators easily? And this is where the human-centered learning analytics indicators in OpenLAP comes into action. So when a teacher teaches a course and has some ideas for indicators to improve her teaching, she can use OpenLAP to build low-fidelity prototypes of indicators to have the idea what she would like to see as an indicator for improving her teaching. The learning management systems and MOOC platforms can collect activity data, perhaps in XAPI format, and store it in learning record stores such as learning loggers. The OpenLAP can query the activity data from these stores, and the teacher can use the OpenLAP to implement these indicators using the real data, and then get shareable codes. These codes can be used to be pasted in any kind of like learning management systems or on her personal dashboard. So OpenLAP is a human-centered learning analytics platform where the human is always in the loop of the learning analytics process cycle. OpenLAP is designed to empower various stakeholders, allowing them to implement their own learning analytics indicators tailored to their specific needs. It is a scalable and interactive and transparent platform for learning analytics as a service, which allows users to design prototypes of the indicators and implement them using real data. So to allow users to co-design the prototypes of the indicators, OpenLAP has a module called Indicator Specification Cards Creator. And to implement those indicators with real data, OpenLAP has a module called the Indicator Editor that helps them to use the real data and use it in a kind of like a personal dashboard. So let me present to you the indicator specification card. So indicator specification card is a theory-informed method to help learning analytics stakeholders to co-design indicators in a systematic manner. The card describes a systematic workflow to get from the why, which is the user's goal, until the visualization, which is the how. So the ISC creator, the indicator specification card is built on the goal question indicator approach, where the indicator has three components: the task abstraction, the data abstraction, and the idiom. These abstractions reflect the dimensions of the information visualization framework, which describes which visualization is suitable for what kind of task and which visualization is suitable for what kind of data and data types. So we conducted a workshop with students and learning analytics designers together to make use of these indicator specification cards. And we based on their feedback from the participants, we produced some design requirements for the ISC creator. So the first, they would like to have an intuitive interface to co-design these indicators. The second is to avoid having this linear approach of designing the indicators. They would like to have a flexible entry point. So this led to have different kind of like approaches, such as this task, data, and idiom-driven approach. And the third is to provide them with recommendations of charts based on what tasks that they have in mind and what data that they have in hand. So here I would like to show a demo of the indicator specification card creator, where a teacher would like to co-design an indicator and shows the number of views of her learning material sorted by the most viewed one. So let me move on to here. So this is the dashboard for the indicator specification card, where the users can see their own indicators that they have created. They can preview it, they can edit it. If they want, they can also delete it. They can also create a new indicator. When they click on this new indicator button, they would move on to a page, to a new page where they have this different various text fields. I have selected these things, but it will be empty in the beginning. So the idea of having this text fields to allow the users to concretely understand what their goal and their question and what kind of indicator that they would like. So the goal could be, for example, they would like to monitor the usage of the learning materials in their course. If she's interested in knowing how these learning materials, how often these learning materials are viewed in their course, and she needs an indicator that shows the number of views of learning materials and sort them by the most viewed ones. And the data that they would need is this number of views and the name of the materials. So to help them to understand what their goal is. And then once they have concretized their goal, they can start creating the indicator. And this is where the three different approaches comes into play. So we have this task-driven approach, data-driven approach, and the visualization-driven approach. So if we go with the visualization, the task-driven approach, we start with the visualization. If we data-driven, that means we start with the data. So if we start with the data visualization-driven approach, we are moved to the types of the charts, where we have the different tasks such as distribution, outliers, trends, and part to whole. We have the different various kind of like charts available, bar charts, and until the stack bar charts. So if we were, let's say, choose, for example, part to whole relationship, then we have the different kind of like visualizations that gives us a recommendation that these are the most kind of like suitable charts that we can build. So when we select a particular chart, we have a short description. It also tells you what kind of like data types that we need. So for example, one categorical, one numerical. We can also learn a little bit more about the inner logic about the visualization itself. And then we can, if we want to use this one, we can preview it. Here is some kind of like pre-selected data that to preview the chart. And then here you can we can actually create a new visual data for the table, for example, material names. And then we can provide, for example, categorical, and then we can provide, for example, 3 different the materials. We can create new columns, for example, a number of views. And then this would be, for example, a numerical. We can confirm it. And then here we can provide like some values that we want. And then we can use this data here to visualize it. And then we can see that the titles would have like categorical type of data. So we provide the names, and the numerical data would be the values. So here we can visualize them, and then we can save them in our dashboard. So the another way is that we can use is the data-driven approach, which is this select data. Here we can import the data, or we can create the data that like the way that we have created here on the bottom. So if we like to import the data, we select a data that we have in hand. So for example, here, load data, then it will load the data as well. It also automatically understands what kind of like data type it has been uploaded. So this is a categorical type of data, and this is a numerical type of data. And then we visualize it. And then here the users will be able to get the recommendation of what chart would be suitable for the data that they have. So for example, a bar chart could be more suitable, or a pie chart can be more suitable. So when we click on preview, we can select the visual the data that we have here, the views, and here, for example, the materials. And then we can save the data, and then we'll be able to see it in our dashboard, the appropriate the prototypes of the visualizations that we can create. So let's move on here. So now we have seen that the teacher can co-design the prototype of these indicators using the synthetic data. So this is just to get the first idea of what the visualization, what kind of indicator that they would like to see. The next step is that how the teachers can implement these indicators based on real activity data from our platform that can be used by using indicator editor. So the indicator editor provides an intuitive interface to implement high fidelity indicators. The users do not need to have any kind of like programming language to use this interface. And again, it follows this goal question indicator approach to implement the indicators. So the goal question indicator approach has 3 steps. The first one is to define the goal of the analysis, formulate a question, and then associate various indicators. In order to implement these indicators, it has again 4 steps, which is the data set, apply some filters, select an analysis method, and then select a visualization. The indicator editor supports 3 types of indicators, namely the basic, composite, and multi-level analysis indicators. So the basic indicator has the basic 4 steps, which is this data set, filters, analysis, and visualization. The composite indicator is created by combining multiple basic indicators together, but the only condition is that the analysis method is the same between all of them. And we have the multi-level analysis method indicators where we again combine multiple basic indicators, but we can perform another set of analysis such as k-means clustering algorithm to create an indicator. So here's an example of a basic indicator where we have a data set in maybe simple tabular form, where we can filter the specific columns that we want, and then we perform any kind of like analysis method such as count, and then we create an indicator such as total access of learning materials. The next example is a composite indicator where we have 2 indicators together, where we have total access of learning materials and number of students who access the learning materials. And these data set can be combined by performing a union between the data set to get this derived data set. And then we can perform the visualization by using a group bar chart and create a composite indicator called most viewed learning material. The third one is this multi-level analysis indicator where we have, again, total access of learning material and total added annotations in learning materials. Again, we can combine them, perform an intersection between the data set, to get a derived data. We can perform another analysis method on top of it to create a, let's say that k-means clustering algorithm. And then we can visualize them using a scatter plot and create an indicator called correlation between total access and total annotation. So now I would like to show you again a demo where the teacher would like to create 3 indicators, the basic indicator, the total access of learning materials, the composite indicator, most viewed learning materials, and the multi-level analysis indicator, the correlation between the total access and total annotations. So this is the interface. It's just below the indicator specification card. When we have created a prototype, we can move on to the indicator editor. Here in this interface where we see the dashboard where we can quickly create the 3 different types of indicators. Here are some indicators that probably you have created by yourself. We can preview them, we can share them, we can also see the types. So let's start with the basic indicator. So basic indicator has these 4 different steps: dataset, filters, analysis, and visualization. The dataset has some few steps. For example, we choose which platform we want. For example, Course Mapper is a platform that we have created in our group. Here we then select the activity type. Based on the XAPI data, we choose what kind of type of activity it is. For example, we would like to see the number of the access of materials, so we choose materials. And here, what is the action performed on those activities? So we choose, for example, access. Next, we will move on to the filter section where we choose exactly what data that we want. So perhaps we choose the exact materials that we would like to see the number of access to. So we choose them, and then we can also see some more filters. We can exclude out my data, or we can choose all the data. We can also select the start and the end date of the activities that has been performed. Then we apply, for example, we have a lot of kind of analysis method. We can choose, for example, to count the activities that has been performed. We can apply, for example, different parameters such as how many, what is the most occurring or the least occurring. We can choose all the types, or we can also choose how many data that we would like to see in our visualization. Then we perform the visualization. We have like different libraries, Apex charts and C3, or we can also use Google Charts if we implement them. Then we can have these different visualization types. Then we can choose, for example, pie chart. The system automatically understands what will be the input of these visualizations, and then we can generate this preview. We will see the preview on the right bottom side, and then we can also give the name as the total access of learning materials. And then when we save it, we will see it in our dashboard that it's available here. We can preview the dashboard, the indicator, and we can also share this indicator using this iframe code. So when we copy this indicator, we can move on to our platform. So here is one of our MOOC platforms that we have developed, Course Mapper, and we have been using this in the last semesters for our lab project and our lectures. And in this way, we have different learning materials available, and also it provides a dashboard for course dashboard that we can add these visualizations. So if we use this in the code that we have provided, so if we confirm it, then we will be able to see the visualization available in our dashboard as well. And this will be always persisted for every time we get the new data. We will be able to see this data as updated visualization as well. So let's now move on to the next part, which is this composite indicator. So the composite indicator, when we click on it, we will move on to this interface where we have the select indicator and the visualization. Here we will see all those basic indicators that you have created. We will select, for example, the total access and the total number of students who access the learning materials. And the steps are very simple. We again choose what kind of like visualization that we want. We can choose, for example, the group bar chart. Oh, sorry. Here the number of students. We choose here the group bar chart. It automatically understands it. We generate the preview, and it will appear here in a short moment. Yep. And then we can name this indicator the most viewed learning material. And then again, we will be able to see this in our dashboard when in the preview. And again, we can also share the indicator back to our kind of like the MOOC platforms or any kind of like LMS. And the third type of indicator is this multi-level analysis indicator, where we want to provide like clustering algorithms. So when we select a specific indicator, it provides that it doesn't have this common attribute between them. So it gives a feedback to the users, and then when we select them, we create a kind of we choose an analysis method in this case. And again, we can choose, for example, different parameters, how many clusters that we want. Let's say that we want to have like 3 clusters. We choose, for example, which visualization that we would like to see for this indicator. We can choose, for example, scatter plot. We apply what kind of like what will be in the x-axis and y-axis, and then we provide the visualizations on the bottom right side. When we save this indicator, again, we will be moving back to our dashboard. We can see the correlation between the total access and the total annotations of our learning materials that we have in our course. Again, then we can share this code, and then we will be able to use it to improve our learning. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. Okay, so so the main idea is that so the key takeaway for this presentation is that we are using OpenLAP and to promote as a kind of human-centered learning analytics tool here, where we always put the human in the loop in the learning analytics process cycle. And we would like to democratize this learning analytics so that everybody, all the stakeholders of learning analytics can create their own indicators that meets their needs. So to achieve that, we have provided two parts. Where first one is to create the low fidelity prototypes of learning analytics indicators using indicator specification cards creator. That has 3 different kind of like flexible design approaches to start creating the prototypes. And based on the prototypes, the users can use the indicator editor, where it is a no-code environment, to create high fidelity prototypes for using the real data. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Here is the QR code that you can test it out the application, and also visit our project page. If you like the idea, then we can maybe you can contact us, and yeah, I can show you more in depth of the concepts of the OpenLAP. Thank you.
Thank you, Shoeb. Yeah, it was a great presentation, but also even greater tool that you are presenting, and especially I like this idea of kind of broadening the access to learning analytics, because sometimes people are not using learning analytics because they don't know how to code, or they don't have support for that. So we still have a few minutes for questions. So if you have any questions, just post them into the chat, so the authors can answer, or they can answer it in answer the questions in GatherTown, or we have one question here. So Shoeb, if you would like to respond to that, it would be great.
Yep. So thank you, Rob, for the question. I think this is a very good one. This is exactly the reason that we have the 2 approaches. First one is this indicator the indicator specification card creator, and this indicator editor. We were lucky enough to conduct an evaluation this semester with the students, and trying to see that who would be the best suitable candidates for using each of these tools or the modules. So we saw that the people with more data literacy or level of visualizations, they can perform well in indicator editor. But people who are lay users, like even who have less kind of like idea about visualization and data, such as the students that we have for bachelor's and some master level students, they were having difficulty in using indicator editor. But they really like the idea of co-designing the indicators using indicator specification cards, because it's simple and it provides recommendation much more easily, and it helps them to kind of like create the indicators much more faster. So I think this is how we can differentiate the people who have with the perfect kind of like tools that they can use. So people who are with lay users go with indicators creator. With some efficiency in data and visualizations, they should go to the indicator editor.
Okay, thank you. I think that we are right on time for the second presentation, and thank you again, Shoeb, for your answering the questions. And I want you all, after this session, into the GatherTown to discuss a little bit more of all these themes. Okay, now I'm move on to the second presentation today, and it's presentation of my group. So what we are going to do, we have here, as you can see, the title, it is a Learning Design meets LMS. And you can see the authors. There are several of us from the Faculty of Organization Informatics, University of Zagreb, but also in this presentation, and especially developing of the tool, we have co-workers from University of Zagreb, but also from Goethe University, Open University, and you will see what we actually prepare. And then the tool I'm going to present today, it is available to use for free, so don't be afraid to use it. So you can now start to be a new user at learning-design.eu, where the tool is. So the tool is for learning design. What does it mean? That learning design is kind of a framework that gives us opportunity to choose what, where, how we are going to teach, and also to structure not just the content, but learning outcomes, some pedagogical strategies, sequences of learning activities. And what we try to do is to support it by technology. It means that we develop a tool which is free to use. It's online. It is a collaborative tool, and basically it has been developed in the last couple of years by Learning Analytics Laboratory, but in cooperation with Open University, but also Goethe University. Now we are working with all university from Finland within several European projects. You can see the list of the projects here. And then, of course, what we try to do, it is try to have a kind of a balanced design planning. That's the name of the tool. Also, that we obey some principles like student-centeredness, horizontal and vertical alignment of teaching and learning activities, learning outcomes, and also to plan resources. So it can be used by teachers, but also curriculum developers and course designers as well. Right now we have more than 1,700 users around the globe in more than 40 countries, and also a great number of courses already developed. So it means that we built a kind of a collaborative framework, so it's online, so you can use collaboration to build your course, and also to use planning on the level of course, or the level of study program, and share your designs, and in the real time use analytics. So mostly design analytics to improve your course design. And what is actually also very important, that we right now have the whole tool available in different languages. Beside English, it's also German, Finnish, and Croatian, but we are looking forward for more languages to be incorporated in the tool. Of course, it means that we try to improve the quality of our courses, so not just to build new courses, but also to improve the quality of existing courses. And that's the reason why it's the newest functionality that we can automatically transfer our learning design from the learning design tool into the LMS model, but we are going to showcase it in a couple of minutes. So you can see the address here, and I'm going to show you how it works in examples. Let me stop sharing here, because I'm going to share my screen to show you where is the tool and how it works. But I think I have it somewhere here. So you just go to the learning-design.eu. I hope that you can see my screen now. And so if you're a new user, you just register here for free. Of course, I'm not a new user. And immediately when I enter it, I can see my courses. There are quite a number of them I've been working on my own or collaboratively with colleagues, but also it is a help section you can use, and also some additional advices how you can use the tool. And for example, if I go into one of these courses, and this is the Research and Development Project Cycle course, you can see here that at the beginning you have some basic data you can enter about the course, the workload, number of learners, type of delivery, but also learning outcomes. So we base everything on a learning outcome. So when you enter learning outcomes, it means that you name the learning outcome, but also we are using Bloom taxonomy to indicate the level of the learning outcomes, which is very important later for a planning. And then the weights, because we are aware that not all the weights of the learning, not all learning outcomes actually have equal weights. And we can share our design with collaborators here, but also share our design with students. So just copy this here and you can put it and share it with our students. And then it is a planning part. For example, if we plan something like this one here, we can, for this topic, plan and relate it to the learning outcomes, and then prepare all these sorts of activities. For example, if you have activity here, we describe activity, then use different learning type. This one is discussion, but it can be something else. If we are, for example, put practice, probably we are wrong, because we can immediately see some examples and descriptions, so to know that it is not a good choice. And then we can relate it to some learning outcome here, and also put the workload and other indicators. So what we have here, let me just put it again to the discussion here, and we can save it. Here we use also flipped classroom as a kind of a strategy or learning approach here. We can save this as a template as well, and we can plan the whole course collaboratively. But what is really important that all the time we can take a look at the analysis. For example, what kind of the activities, type of learning types we use it here, if our workload is in line with planned workload, how many collaborative activities, what type of a feedback we have, mode of delivery as well. What is also important that we have a closer look for each of the topics. So you can see, for example, that this topic of project management for R&D projects, that we use all sorts of activities. But for example, if you take a look at this one, we usually use production. So you can check if your idea is in line with what you planned here, and also with assessment. Because when you plan your learning outcomes weights, then you can also plan the workload percentage based on the inputs you have in the planning phase, and finally, contribution of assessment to learning outcomes. So all these three graphs should look similar, but of course not the same, because it's not possible. But for you, it is really good information on constructive alignment of this one. And then finally, you can check on formative assessment, and if you cover all these learning outcomes throughout the topics. So it's very important that we cover all these learning outcomes throughout the topics. And then, of course, what is something that I would like to emphasize here, it is export possibility. So we can export to Excel, to PDF, and to Moodle. But now I'm stop sharing here, because I'm going to ask Barbi to show you how we actually, in 3 minutes, can build our Moodle course based on the learning design here. Barbi, the floor is yours, but I'm going to just mute myself.
Hi everyone. Just to say hi, before we start, I'm being mindful of the time, so I'll try to do this as fast as possible. I work with Blaženka and her team as a researcher, and I'm going to show you how to scaffold your course from learning design to directly to Moodle. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so what you can see here is the overview of my courses in the BDP tool. And as an example, I'm going to use the same course that Blaženka showed you just a second ago. This one, Research and Development Project Cycles. And as she had already said, I'm going to explain this export option. So once you're done with the learning design and you're satisfied with your planning, you can click on the export tab on the right side of your screen. And then among the three choices, you can choose to export to Excel, to PDF, or to Moodle. You're going to choose to export to Moodle in one click. In the next step, you have to choose the supported Moodle version, which actually depends on the version that your institution is using. In our case, this is 4.3, and in your case, it might be something else. Below that, there is a list of all the teaching and learning activities that you planned in your learning design, here on the left side of your screen. And each of these activities is paired with some details from learning design, including the learning type. You can see it colored here. We have different colors for discussion, acquisition, then we have practice, production, and so on, assessment, of course. And each of these teaching and learning activities and corresponding learning types has to be paired with the appropriate Moodle resource. So for each of the learning types, you have a selected choice of possible Moodle resources. For discussion, you have, for example, a chat, a forum, a database, and for acquisition, you have, for example, a page, a book, a file, folder, and so on. So this is a selection. The first one that you can see here is actually default, and this one is a recommended Moodle resource for your learning type, but you can also change it however you see fit. And once you're done with choosing the appropriate Moodle resources for all your teaching and learning activities and their corresponding learning types, you have to scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Download Moodle Course Backup. At this point, as you can see, a file is downloaded here, which contains actually the backup of your course. And now you have to switch. Just a sec. And now you have to switch to Moodle, to the course you are working on. Choose the option saying More, Course Reuse, and then here on the left side, choose the option to Restore. So it's not Import, Backup, or Reset, it's Restore. And now you're going to see a field which actually enables you to upload the backup that you just saved from the learning design tool. So you choose a file. Upload it. And click on Restore. Now we'll have several steps which are just giving us an overview of what we have here. So we have some settings here. You just take a look at this. There's nothing special to do here. And then scroll to the bottom of the page and click Continue. Here, this is an important step, very important step. You can choose either to merge the backup course into this course, or you can choose to delete the contents of this course and then restore. So you can either merge the two versions or you can overwrite one. I'm going to choose to overwrite, but this depends on, of course, your context, and click continue. Here are again some restore settings and some course settings. I'm going to choose to keep current roles and enrollments so that the new course already includes, for example, the teachers who are included in the course. Here you can see the overview of your learning design, and you can also choose, for example, to exclude something from your learning design or to include everything as you wish. Scrolling down. And once you're done with the selection, you click on next. Again, an overview of everything that you have here. It's a bit long. And in the end, you just click on Perform Restore. Wait a couple of seconds. Continue. And what we have here is actually a scaffolded course from your learning design directly in Moodle. You have all actually teaching and learning activities shown here, but you don't have teaching and learning materials. So for each of them, for example, you will have a short explanation from your learning design. You will also have some introductory things about the course, which are also drawn from learning design. And actually, the last thing you have to do is to upload your teaching and learning materials. Everything else is basically ready. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Barbi. Okay. We are using the same room, so that's the reason why you hear this microphone. Yeah. Okay, now you actually saw how it works. So first you plan in BDP tool, and then you go to the and just scaffold it in the Moodle, so it's very fast. And now we are going to show you some testimonials from our partners in this project. So first of all, we are going to share one video because Bart, who is actually working with us on this tool, is in a parallel session. So that's the reason why we are going to just show you one video that connects our tool, BDP tool for learning design, with some previous ones. Tom.
See, and I'm chairing a session at the same time, so apologies, I can't make it. Just 1 minute testimonial of me. What you see here is learning design at the Open University 2016. The Open University has been using learning design since 2004, and without the BDP tool led by the University of Zagreb, we would still be in this space, because what an amazing journey we've been. In the good old days, we were using paper, pen, and cards, as you can see, to develop some very rudimentary dashboards. And then we spent a lot of time explaining this to teachers in terms of trying to make sense of this, and how amazing it is that within the BDP tool, you can actually do this now all in one place, in one shop, working with teachers, but also students at the same time. So we're really grateful for all the hard work on this tool, and we're looking forward to the next steps. And thank you so much for all that work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was Bart's presentation. And now let me just go back to our presentation, because we still have a few things to, There are two additional testimonials, one from Julia from Goethe University Frankfurt. Julia, you're here. Would you like to say something or just give the audience the possibility to read the testimonial?
Yeah, hi everyone. I think it's enough when everyone read the testimonial. Don't remember it. Everything is on the slide. Yeah.
Okay, so Goethe is also working with us on this RAPID project, European Erasmus Plus project. So we are happy to have their inputs and also they advise us on certain very important stuff. Another one is testimonial from Mirza Žižak. He's professor at the University of Zagreb, but School of Medicine. You know, the medicine is different study program and quite demanding. And as you can see on this slide, they use, again, the BDP tool to significantly improve teaching scenarios, but also teaching based on the learning outcomes, and to take particular care of some aspects of each learning units, as well as use this capability to transfer to the LMS model. Okay, and these are the list of publications that we build based on our new approach. So thank you all very much for your attention, and if you have some additional questions, the floor is yours. Because we still have 4 minutes here to answer your questions. Let me see if we have anything else in a chat. Okay, good. Yeah, Marcel, thank you very much. Actually, it would be great if you have a translation in Dutch as well, because of course we use a different tool to make this translation. So we translate it, and then of course we need some native speaker to check it, because there are a lot of specific stuff here. Yeah. Then it is a question from Maria. Yeah, does it work with other LMS system like Canvas? Not right now, but because it's based on why we can use it for Moodle, because Moodle is open source, so we can pair it with Moodle, so prepare this upload. I think that's quite important that we have like that. But yeah, if somebody would like to try to prepare it for Canvas, it would be great. Okay. So you can try the tool that is available online. It's for free. It's collaborative. And if you have any additional questions, you can send us, because there is a form there, or you can use this help section to learn more. Of course, all these steps that Barbi also show you, these steps were described in one short video, 5-minute video, also available in help section. Okay. Anything else here? Okay, if not, then we can move to the last section and presentation in this session. It is closing the loop: design, teach, learn, analyze, redesign. I think that we have presenters here, Marcel and Roald. So you can share your screen as well.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the presentations until this far. Thank you for the great demos. We also are going to show you not really a demo, but still steps that we have took into our journey, and which for me in my PhD journey was important to see. And it is about closing this loop. I've seen all this great research came out of solar and learned a lot from a lot of people that are in this room. And during the years that I did my PhD as a candidate in the last years, we did a lot. And we are going to take you on a journey we did in the last few years on it. Yeah, well, this is me. I'm Marcel Schmitz. I'm currently at Zuyd University of Applied Sciences, but then this PhD candidate at the Open University of the Netherlands, and doing a lot with students throughout the years, and have the opportunity to work with IT students, software developers. So a lot of my projects, besides the research, are about innovation and about trying to work on these things with actually a lot of you guys in the field. And my partner today is Roald Janssen. He will introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Roald Janssen. I'm an alumnus of Zuyd University of Applied Sciences, where I did my thesis as well on learning analytics for learning design. After the graduation, I liked learning analytics so much, I wanted to start a company continuing the work basically. So that's why I started the company DataTales. And that's a really short introduction, I think.
Yeah, and he will be more on the screen than me. My PhD is on towards learning analytics supported learning design. And just to get it short, we had a situation at Zuyd University, as there are at many places, where we made this learning design, unfortunately not with the tool Blaženka showed us, because I started 8 years ago, and then this was also when the building of that tool was beginning. I wished I had known it sooner, but then again, the idea that we have a desired situation where there's this runtime of this course and this design time of this course, and then we as teachers and designers, but also students, can have some kind of intervention during the weeks that this course is built. And that was the starting point of my PhD, that we could use learning analytics to get to this point. But then we had to, we as others also saw, how do you then connect this learning design towards this learning analytics? And we did several projects on it, which I was able to present in Actel and in some journals. And then at the point, we came to the same conclusion as Blaženka's group did. At this learning design, you have to think about learning analytics, and you have to make that connection there. And for me, the solution at that point was coming up with this method, Vondra square. I was being able to publish some article about that at the JLA article, and this Vondra square is this method where you can actually make a learning design, and then at the point that you are designing this learning activity, already think about the learning analytics which is needed there. So I did a lot of projects also from other collaborations, like in SURF in the Netherlands, but all these kind of projects were just parts of this entire loop. So we did something about the data, we did something about the dashboards, we did a test with a dashboard, which was in the Reflector project of SURF, where students got to work with dashboard. We made this learning analytics. As you can see, these are all, for me in my PhD trajectory, parts of this entire loop of design, teach, learning analytics, and then redesign, which I did partially. And I was seeking for this moment where I could make this circle round, where I could close the loop of doing all these things and then seeing the results of it. So I tried to find some kind of student which could help me with that. And there, in one of these parts and one of these pieces of this puzzle on a dashboard, I found Roald Janssen. And now the floor is yours, Roald, to take it on.
Thank you. So yeah, 2 years ago, I started a course which was taught by Marcel to actually close that gap was he's talking about. So me together with 3 other people made some prototype dashboards for teachers, which were filled with dummy data, but they did give us a great example of how a learning analytics dashboard could look like. However, because it was filled with dummy data, there was still a gap between analyzing the learning activities and evaluating learning design. So when I started my thesis, we tried to fix that using a new sort of method, basically. And what you see right here in front of you is what we call the learning analytics for learning design cycle, which I'll call the cycle from now on. And this is actually a great way for us to close the gap in some few steps. Obviously, we start at the top at the learning design. We design our activities. Then we prepare and implement the activities that we have designed. Obviously, we run these activities in courses or whatnot. Generating from these activities is some raw data, which is obviously needed to be processed, so it's organized. From that organized data, we can actually do some learning analytics as well. What you'll notice is that we have blue hexagons and green hexagons. Well, the blue ones, they exist currently, and the green ones, those were missing to complete, to fill the gap, basically. So what we try to do to fill the gap is put an ETL process, an extract, transform, load process in these two steps. And for the learning analytics part, we made a teacher and student dashboard. Right. So what we made was a Wizard of Oz iteration. Obviously, for my thesis, I was not able to make a fully automated system which continues the loop, basically. So there has to be some manual input as well, especially from the technologies that we use. Let's go for the first step. Obviously, working together with Marcel, we use Photo Square for the learning design, which is a great method in the gamification to design learning activities, learning analytics support learning activities. And we did this for lectures and discussion lectures for a course. Right, it looks like this, basically. We have a board with blue cards, which are interaction cards, which are supported by the red learning enhancing technology cards. And also with these yellow what do we want to know cards, which is really important for the learning analytics part. So we have a one size basically to fill these interactions, but also what do we actually want to know from technologies that we use to support these. Right. After we've designed these learning activities for the discussion courses and whatnot, we've chosen the learning management system Moodle to actually implement those functionalities with a really easy explanation, because Zuyd uses Moodle as an LMS and also has a lot of functionalities which fulfill the learning activities which we have designed. So here are some of the Moodle functionalities that we used, which were available in Zuyd as well. I won't go through them in detail, but I think this will speak for itself, I think. Right, and after implementing, obviously, the activities, we run the activities. So the lectures and discussion lectures were actually being run, and the Moodle functionalities were also being used, which were generating us raw data. So the missing elements could be filled using this architecture right here, which is pretty basic and global actually. But this gives us a view of how the data flow should be from the data output on the way to the learning analytics part. So from the data output in the ETL process, this is the extract step, which we were extracting Moodle data. This is an explanation why it was a Wizard of Oz. There were some different ways to extract the data, which could not be done automatically with teacher rights on Moodle. Then we had to transform the data, obviously, from raw to clean. And looks something like this. So we have the raw data right here, which is not in any way organized. So there are some few steps that we do, and eventually we get some data that we can actually analyze. This has been put into a star model, which is really great for row level security as well, which is important for the students. This has been loaded into the dashboard. And for the dashboard, we actually used Power BI, and there we made the teacher dashboard and student dashboard. So it looks something like this. What you see right here is the teacher dashboard, which has some of the Moodle functionalities built in, but only actually linked together as well. So it's fully interactive. So if you click on one of these bars or one of the students, actually everything filters through. You can also drill down to some of these elements as well and see some more details, which would help the teacher do some more analysis on the data. Obviously, it was really important for us to also have the students to see how they were doing, also to engage them with the course material even more. So the student dashboard has also been made, and obviously there's not so much in it as the teacher's dashboard. Right. For closing the loop, there were some adaptations. Marcel used the knowledge gained from the dashboards, from the learning analytics, to actually do some changes in the next iteration of the course. So we redesigned the activities. Well, how did we actually evaluate these dashboards is by usability tests to evaluate effectiveness and intuitiveness. And we also use the evaluation framework of learning analytics to evaluate the dashboard as an actual learning analytics tool. Right, so the loop was now closed. We filled the elements with this architecture that we have made. But there are some key points to consider. A second iteration was not possible for a fully automated ETL process with the teacher rights. So in this current setup, it was not possible to make it fully automated, but it is possible in general. The wizard was a really essential role to feed the dashboard data, not only to do it in the back end basically, but also to encourage the teacher to actually keep note of the attendance and whatnot, so it was not forgotten. So actually the data entry was a really important one as well. Well, the cycle could be used in different contexts, and it also applies to its instruments. So the cycle is really general, but you can use it in pretty much any course. But if you want to do it again for another course, well, each course is obviously context dependent. You cannot make a one-size-fits-all learning design for every course. So you basically have to go through these steps again. I'd like to give the floor now to Marcel again.
Yeah, you can imagine having such a bachelor student thesis is very, very welcome and very great. And it gave me the opportunity to actually see what in practice my research would bring. Unfortunately, I was the teacher. There were only 9 students. So it wasn't very academically publishable at that point. So I applause again for Lab 24, so that I am able to let him show this. The even more surprise I've got at that point is that he was really invested in this field and started his own company. So we were approached by a local vocational institute called Vista. And Vista wanted to close actually the same loop around learning analytics and supporting their challenge-based learning. And what we did there was out of a company called Petra AI, they did a personalization of this FOLA method, where we in several steps personalize the cards. So there are learning enhancing technology cards that are to be adapted to that institute. But also there are cards that are specific for vocational institutes that differ from the version I had, which was made for LAC 20 in Frankfurt/online, which was in higher education. So we adapted the methods for vocational institutes, and we worked with teachers and students, and we designed actually 4 activities in their challenge-based learning pedagogy for an IT, a school of software developers. And one of the interesting things was that during the development, during the personalization, we used educational scientists and advisors of the institute. We also used teachers, but also the leading experts of that department. But in the actual design of the learning activities, we used the teachers that were going to teach this stuff. And there was already then a discussion on what is challenge-based learning for Vista. So in this process, discussing with each other, what do we mean by challenge-based learning, or what activities are in there and not, is a very important step. We actually came out of several activities, and the important indicators we with the teachers wanted to get out of this challenge-based learning environment had to do with critical thinking. So the critical thinking of the student and how they were approaching their challenges in their group. This is a big environment where 80 students are being supported by 8 to 10 teachers, but all in one big environment. So if they are being noticed was one of the elements that was important for both students and teachers to know. And there was a +1 on getting +1 when you did something right or you did an extra achievement. So these were the important elements that we wanted to measure and that came out of the design. And then Roald came in with his DataTales, and he will explain what he did.
So obviously Marcel did the first part in this cycle by actually helping Visa design these learning activities. For my part, because I'm into the data story, it was helping Visa prepare and implement these technologies from the learning activities. So I did that on location with them as well. Obviously we knew what they wanted to have visualized, what information needs they had. So we could also prepare the dashboarding itself and also some of the cleaning scripts. So when the courses were actually run, we could have a almost real-time visualization of the data. Obviously, with data being collected, they needed to be a manual as well for the teachers. It used to be me on my thesis as a Wizard of Oz to do it on the background. But the teachers itself of Visa also needed some sort of handhold to get the data into the dashboard itself. So for the run activity, there were some workshops given and some evaluations that were actually there all the time. Here are 3 timelines which are actually weeks where the challenge was being held. And the green bars below the timelines, those are the times that the data has been collected basically. So you can see that there was some overlap. Right, this should look familiar. Like I said, the cycle can be used in different contexts, but also the instruments itself, like this architecture right here. So not a lot has been changed, but it still has a really great functionality for the dashboarding itself. So the run activity, we did that together as well. I have joined some of them to actually see how it was working, which I also did with my thesis, just to get a bit more grip of some of the data. Obviously, not all the data is actually in the data. Some is actually in the classroom itself. So it's really handy for us to also witness it. Obviously, the data cleaning step comes into play again with cleaning the critical thinking and do you feel noticed parts, but also enriching that data as well. And for the +1, Visa really liked our idea for this this part. Only there was too few time, but we just wanted to implement it anyway. So we generated some data just to visualize how it could look like. Obviously, some raw data gets clean again. This step almost always has to happen. And from there, we got to the dashboard and the actual solution, which was, this is one view of the critical thinking part, but there are some multiple pages of the other parts that they are really interested in. Right, to actually close the loop at Visa is a work in progress. I think Marcel has more insights at what has happened after implementing these dashboards. So I'll give the floor again.
Yeah, they're currently adapting their challenge-based learning activities based on the information they've got, and they are seeking a way to bring this into other departments of Vista where they are also working with challenge-based learning. So they are really adapting their current learning activities based on the data they have got. I think you still have to, there are still some key points for you, Roald.
Exactly. So we'll see the same ones as before. Obviously, the wizard was a really essential role again. In this sense, it was the teacher and me for this setup. This has actually enforced that the cycle can be used in different contexts and also that the courses are context dependent. But the first point you see right here is the data awareness part. It's something we didn't really consider beforehand, but what we noticed when we were actually running the cycle is that there might be some more awareness that needed to be created for some data privacy, which might be forgotten. Obviously, when I was doing my thesis, it was in the same institution as where I was a student. So getting the data was not really a big deal. But at Vista, I was a third party with DataTales. So there needed to be some more privacy and security regarding the data from different students. And that's actually about it. Closing the loop. Thank you everyone for viewing our presentation. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Marcel and Roald for your presentation and very interesting actually questions you've been posing. I think that all three demos today actually have a lot in common. And what we all try to do is close the loop. So not just to build some tool to help or gather some data, but to see how this works in practice and also how we can use the data analytics and analysis to improve the process of teaching and learning. And of course, all our tools are here not because we would like just to build the tools. Maybe we do, but but actually to improve the teaching and learning as such in different contexts. Okay, let me see if we have some additional questions here. I can see that Marcel already answered some of them. Yes, it is always a question, actually, how people are using the tools we are building and our processes. So not just to use it at one moment and in time, but actually to make changes. And I think that Marcel, would you like to add something to that? Because it was a question, I think, from Anushka here.
Yeah. Well, Anushka, you're right. Is it during the course or after the course that they are using this? Because changing during the course is difficult. I already written down that for the Zuyd thing, it was because of the structure of this course being on a weekly basis the same type of learning activities. Then you have the opportunity to change after a week with the input you've got. For the Vista case, it was very student become aware of the if students felt noticed or not is some kind of data you can get back that you can react on, because in this challenge-based open learning environment they have, there was a lot of walking around or chatting, messaging students from teachers, but because that there were a lot of teachers and a lot of students, they didn't know amongst each other, although that they started the day with each other, who got to reach out to what student. And so this environment actually screened for such a data storage and that they then could use. I also noticed that in this vocational institute setting, the learning design was very loosely, and instead in comparison to the higher education at Zuyd, where we have to, from our institute point of view, have to have a very structured learning activity design so that it can be shared with colleagues. And that also was something that I didn't know or expected before doing this project. So I would say every context can have the opportunity to do something with the data, and I think all three of the presentations show that thinking about this learning analytics at the point of learning design will help us to decide on what that then is for that context. And that isn't the same. And that can be a combination of things. But yeah, that will be a challenge also by combining these great efforts that we saw today, because I think there are a lot of links to be made. Yeah. I don't know if that's an answer, Blaženka, but it's more a tryout of collaboration, perhaps, something like that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is actually the point of lab, to bring practitioners together, not just to share our research results, because we are usually quite capable to do so, but also to try to find some practical applications that can be useful or adaptable in different contexts, and bring us together to work together. So I'm also invite not just presenters, but all of you that have been at this presentation and participate and listen to us and make some notes to reach to us, and we can work together, we can share, we can develop further, and that actually is the point. So thank you for all the presenters, but also to all of you for participation, and take a look at the Gather Town, because we are going to be there for the next 15 minutes in between two sessions. So have a great conference and great day. Thank you.